May 15th, 2015, from the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C., the Hawks and the Wizards played Game 6 from their 2015 NBA Playoff Round 2 series. And the Hawks clinched the series. They win it in 6 as they're moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in their franchise history, as they've won the NBA Finals one time back in 1958 when they were in St. Louis, but there were not conferences at that time. But in this game, let's go over how it went down, how this game transpired. The Wizards were actually down in the first, but they went on a 9-2 run to end the first and go up by 1 point with a score 20-19. Then in the second quarter, there were 5 lead changes and 6 ties, and at the end of the first half, it was a 6-point lead for the Hawks as they went into the locker rooms at halftime up 45-39. Then in the third quarter, Atlanta was up by as many as 15 points with 6 minutes left in the third, and at the end of 3, it was 72-64. Then in the fourth quarter, they were up by as many as 8 points with 6 minutes left, with the score 87-79, but the Wizards went on a 9-0 run to take the lead as Bradley Beal hit a 12-footer to make it 88-87. Then with less than 2 minutes left, Paul Millsap put the Hawks back in the lead at 89-88 with a 16-footer. John Wall missed a wide-open 3. Then Kyle Korver missed a 3, and John Wall would draw a foul. Wall then tied the game at 89 apiece, but then he missed the second free throw as he had a chance to put the Wizards up by 1. Then DeMarre Carroll ended up getting a pair of layups with assists from Jeff Teague, and it was a 4-point lead for the Hawks at 93-89. And then Al Horford ended up blocking Bradley Beal out of bounds. Then John Wall missed a layup. DeMarre Carroll got the rebound, and then Bradley Beal ended up stealing the ball from Kyle Korver. Wall missed the layup. Otto Porter Jr. went to lay it in. He missed. Then Garrett Temple went to tip it in, but he got fouled. And so Garrett Temple went to the line. He hit the first free throw, and he hit the second. And now it was a 2-point game at 93-91 with the Hawks narrowly in the lead. Then Al Horford ended up drawing a foul. So he goes to the free throw line, and he missed the first free throw as he had a chance to kind of put it out of reach and really seal it, but he missed the first one. Now he would need to make the second to make it a 3-point game, or else the Wizards would have a chance to win it with a 3-pointer, tie it with a 2. And Horford does come up big. He comes up clutch. He hits the second free throw as he was the hero in Game 5. And then here he hits this free throw to make it a 3-point game. So now it's a 3-point game with just over 6 seconds left to play. And then they end up getting it to Paul Pierce with like 3 seconds. Paul Pierce trying to find his spot down in the corner. He finds it and he lets it go. And he hits the 3-pointer. Swoosh! Paul Pierce, the truth, does it again. Just like in Game 3 when he hit the game winner at the buzzer, but this time the game tire at the buzzer. But wait a minute, the referees go to the replay, and as it turns out, the ball was still touching his fingertips as time expired. So the time expires. It was exciting. This series was exciting. I mean, we had buzzer beaters. We had a near buzzer, beater tire. It wasn't, quite a game winner, but man, what a crazy, crazy finish. Like I said, Game 3, Paul Pierce hit that buzzer beater. Then in Game 5, Al Horford with that, as he put it in off that rebound. Even in the game, in the series, it was a very tight series overall. The Hawks, though, they're number 1 seed. The Wizards, the number 5 seed. They end up holding on to win 94-91. That was the final score in Game 6. As they win it in 6. Game 1, it was a 6-point, difference. As the Wizards won the first game, 104-98. Then in Game 2, though, Atlanta blew them out by 16, 106-90. That was the one aberration. Otherwise, it was, that 6-point difference in Game 1 was the biggest difference. But 16 points in Game 2. Then in Game 3, it was a 2-point game. Paul Pierce with that buzzer beater. Game 4, the Hawks come back to tie up the series by 5, with 106-101. Then in Game 5, Al Horford comes up big as he puts in that shot there off the rebound. And they win 82-81. Then here in Game 6, 94-91, a 3-point game as they win the series. They win 3 games in a row. They were down 2-1, and they come back to win the series as they are going to their first Eastern Conference Finals. The conferences were formed in the 70-71 season, and the Hawks actually moved to Atlanta from St. Louis in the 68-69 season. They had actually been in St. Louis before that. They were in Milwaukee. They moved to St. Louis in the 55-56 season. And prior to being in Milwaukee, they were actually in the Tri-Cities. And the Tri-Cities, that was Moline, Illinois, Davenport, Iowa, and Rock Island, Illinois. That's the Tri-Cities. Davenport, that's actually where, for you wrestling fans, that's where Seth Rollins, the WWE World Champion, is. And WWE actually was in Moline. But the Hawks, the last time they won the NBA Finals, the only time they won it was when they were in St. Louis. It was in 1958. It was that 57-58 season. They actually beat the Celtics that year, and it was a rematch from the finals a year previously. That was a Hawks team that was led by Bob Pettit, or Pettit, however you say it, Pettit. He was a power forward. He scored 50 points in the game-clinching game in the finals as they beat the Celtics in that game 110-109. And that was, against the Bill Russell Celtics, a team that actually would win the next 8 in a row. They had won the one before that, so that was 8 out of 10. And then they actually went on to win the next 8 out of 10 because after winning 8 in a row, they lost one. Then they won another 2. That was 10 out of 11. They won like 16 out of the next 30 over that 30-year stretch. But the Hawks, they won it in 58. The one time they won it, and that was in St. Louis about a decade before they moved to Atlanta. As I said, they moved to Atlanta in the 68-69 season. And the conferences formed in 1970-71 season. And so this is their first Eastern Conference Finals. They'll be going against Cleveland. So that'll be quite the matchup, the number 1 seed versus the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like I said, quite the series here. We had, definitely some interesting moments. And, the Wizards, they won the first one. But Atlanta came back. They blew them out in Game 2. They split the first 2 there in Atlanta. Then they go to Washington. Washington wins that first one in D.C., Game 3. And with that buzzer beater. That could have went the Hawks' way right there. So, a lot of these games, they were very close. Like I said, really 5 out of the 6 games were under, they were single digits. They were under a 10-point lead. The only time a team won by double digits was Game 2 when the Hawks won by 16. But then coming back in Game 4, tying up the series. So they split in Atlanta. They split in Washington. They go back to Atlanta. They win Game 5, and they go to D.C. in Game 6. And they win their second game on the road in the series, winning 2 at home, 2 at the road. So they prove they can win on the road and they can win at home. And, against the tough Wizards team, of course, the Wizards, they'll be back, next year. John Wall will be healthy. They'll be back in the playoffs, most likely. But the Hawks, I think they're very underrated, personally. I think they have a really good team. They've been building this team for a long time, too. I've been watching the Hawks for a while, building up. It's been a work in progress. They're not just a team that just threw together some free agents and high-profile players. They're actually a team that's been together. They've been playing together for a while. So they're a cohesive unit. And you see that the way they play and the numbers they put up. You see Damari Carroll. He's really shining. That's the guy right there. He's like their backbone, along with Paul Millsap, and they both had double-doubles in this game. Carroll had 25 points, 10 rebounds, and Paul Millsap with 20 points and 13 rebounds. And Jeff Teague had another 20. That's the Jeff Teague. He facilitates the offense. When they need him to, he'll score, but at the same time, he can also take the back seat and just dole out the assists. He had 7 assists in the game. He also had 5 boards. Kyle Korver didn't really get too much going on the offensive end, but that had to do with the fact that they were just all over Kyle Korver. It seemed as if Washington's strategy was just, if they could stop Kyle Korver, they felt they would have a better chance at winning. And, you can't argue against it. It came down to the wire, so, of course they did lose, and they lost 3 straight. That's pretty impressive by the Hawks to win 3 in a row against this Wizards team. Even with, the injury to John Wall still, The Hawks, though, coming up big in this series. And of course, Schroeder, sorry, pronunciation, but Schroeder actually struggled in this game. He's been doing a lot better throughout the series, so, but we'll see moving on. I think they have a good shot at actually beating the Cavs, especially with Kevin Love being out and with Kyrie being banged up. But that's not going to start till next Wednesday is when they'll be playing Game 1 in Atlanta. So the Atlanta Hawks moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time. Let me know what you thought about this game and what you thought about this series. What do you think about the conference finals coming up, the Eastern Conference Finals between the Atlanta Hawks and the Cleveland Cavaliers? I know I'm looking forward to it. Who do you think is going to win that one? It's going to be tough. I mean, you got LeBron James, and then you got the Atlanta Hawks. So you got like the best player versus the best team. I mean, I'm going to have to go with the best team, really. That's how, it's a team game. So even though usually I almost always pick LeBron, and it's LeBron's fifth Eastern Conference Finals in a row, and it's the Hawks' first. And I think it's about time the Hawks that they made another trip to the finals, this time as the Atlanta Hawks. But that's what I'm thinking. And let me know what you think, though. I respect your opinion, whether you agree or disagree. Just leave me a comment in the comment section below. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and have a good weekend. And enjoy all the sports.